Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear students, this is lecture 8. This lecture is about the speech organs, more specifically the tongue. As you know, we have already started talking about the tongue, which is the most important organ of speech due to its greatest variety of movements. This organ can move in different ways, take different positions, and it has 4 parts, if you remember: the tip, the blade, the front, and the back. Okay, these are the 4 parts of the tongue based on our textbook. If you remember, I told you that in some other textbooks, another part is included, which is the root of the tongue. For the time being, we will suffice our discussion of the tongue with these 4 parts. Actually, the tip and the blade of the tongue, as you can see in the figure, are under the alveolar ridge. Under the alveolar ridge. So what is the alveolar ridge? The alveolar ridge is the part of the palate that is immediately behind the upper front teeth. And you can see that the tip and the blade are actually under the alveolar ridge, while the front of the tongue is almost under the hard palate, which is the highest part of the palate. On the other hand, the back of the tongue lies under the soft palate, okay? So the tip is the most forward part of the tongue. It is the most forward part of the tongue. And it is that part that can move forward to be in touch with the teeth and the lips. Okay? The blade is between the tip and the front. This is the tip, this is the front, this is the blade. It is between the tip and the front of the lips. The most important parts of the tongue are the tip and the blade. Why? As they can be in touch with the lips, with the alveolar ridge, and with the hard palate as well. It can be in touch with the lips. We may add the teeth as well, the alveolar ridge, and the hard palate. Okay? These are the 2 important. They are more important than the front and the back. Okay? Now, the front the front of the tongue can be flat on the bottom of the mouth. That is, it is lowered inside the mouth. And this is very clear. The position of the tongue, of the front of the tongue, when it is flat on the bottom of the mouth, it is very clear in the pronunciation of ah. The tongue is lowered, the mouth is open. Okay? So this is a position that is called flat. And the front of the tongue can take another position, which is to be raised, as in E. If you move from A to E, you can clearly identify the difference between the 2 positions. With A, the mouth is open, the tongue is lowered. With E, the front of the tongue is high in the mouth, and the mouth is not that open. Now I want you to try pronouncing A, E, A, E. You can clearly identify and feel the difference between A and E. In A, the front of the tongue is lowered. In E, the front of the tongue is raised. Actually, there are degrees between A and E, which is the case of being flat and the case of being raised. The tongue can take different varying positions between these 2. So it's not just flat or raised. No, there are things in between. For example, when you pronounce the sound a, it is different from and different from e. It's neither flat as in nor raised as in e. It's something in the middle. The same thing with a. Let's have a look at figure 7 in your textbook, page 18. This is figure 7. You can see that these are the positions of the tongue, more specifically the front area of the tongue, when we pronounce these vowels. Look, this is the pronunciation of ah, and the mouth is open, the tongue is lowered, and this is e when the tongue is high. Here we have a and a. These are varying degrees between raised and flat. Between raised and flat. A is more to an open position, while a is more to a closed position when the tongue is high. So this is high. This is called mid-high. This is mid open or low, and this is low. This is the case when the tongue is flat, and this is the case when the tongue is raised, and these are in between. So we have three basic positions for the tongue, either to be flat as in ah, or to be raised as in e, or to take positions in between as in a and a. Okay, now this is for the front part of the tongue. For the back part of the tongue, we have also the same degrees. We have either the back is flat, that is low inside the mouth, as in the same thing, ah, ah, ah. The back of the tongue as well as the front are both in a flat, low position. When the back of the tongue is raised, we can get sounds like k, ak, ak. You can try saying this sound, ak. You can feel that the back of the tongue is raised inside the mouth and it is in touch with the soft palate. Don't forget that the back of the tongue is under the soft palate. So when this back of the tongue, this part is raised, it will definitely be in touch with the soft palate. This is the case when we have k sound, ak, ak. Okay, you can feel this difference when you pronounce the word ak, ak, ak. With the whole tongue is flat, that is, it is low in the mouth. When we move to ke, we suddenly notice that the back of the tongue is raised to be in touch with the soft palate. Ak, ak, k, k. Okay, you can practice. The more you practice, the better your pronunciation will be, and actually understanding also will be better. And we have cases in between, as in u and o. It's neither a nor ak. It's u and o. U, o, u, o. You can move from a to u. A, u, a, u. You can feel that the back of the tongue is a bit raised, not highly raised inside the mouth. Let's have a look at figures 8 and 9 in your textbook. Look at these. This is figure 8. Let me minimize it a little bit. Okay, this is the case of the back of the tongue is low, but when I say ka, ak, the back of the tongue will be here. Look, it's in touch with the soft palate. It is in touch with the soft palate. This is ak, k, k. Okay, the same thing happens when we talk about vowels. We have different vowels. We have a, we have O, we have U, and we have oo. Oo is high. The back of the tongue is high, while with oo it is a bit lower. With O it is more lowered. With A it is completely lowered inside the mouth. Now you can go from the first one to the last one, either from bottom to top or from top to bottom, the way you like, and try to feel the difference. Oo, oo, o, a, oo, oo, o, a. So you can feel how these vowels are different in terms of the position of the tongue and which part of the tongue is most raised inside the mouth. Okay? And this is also very clear. This is very low and this is high. Okay? Practice and practice and practice, please. Okay? Now we have different shapes of the tongue. Sometimes the sides of the tongue are curved upward, as in the pronunciation of the sound se. S, s. When you pronounce the sound se, you can feel that the tip and the sides of the mouth are high inside the mouth. The whole tongue is high. The sides are also curved upward. Actually, most of the English consonants are pronounced when in which the tongue is involved. Okay? They are produced when the whole tongue is raised. But sometimes it's not the whole tongue that is raised. The sides of the tongue are flat. It means they are lowered. This is what happens exactly in the pronunciation of the sound l, 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 l. You can feel that the tip of the tongue is in touch with the alveolar ridge, but the sides of the tongue are not. The sides of the tongue are lowered, are flat inside the mouth. This is another position. Another position when the tongue is curled back and floating. You know, floating. It's something like it has nothing to do with the bottom, neither with the bottom nor with the surface of the mouth. It's floating. طايف. نقول عنه طايف. So with ra, you cannot feel any specific and clear contact between the tongue and the roof of the mouth or the bottom of the mouth. Ra. Okay? So these are the positions the tongue can take, the movements it can make, and the parts of the tongue. Okay? Now we move to the lips. First of all, let's agree that the lips are active organs of speech. They are active, they can move. The lips can take different positions. One of these positions is that when they are brought firmly together, they are in a firm contact with each other. And in this case, the mouth will be blocked. Okay? This is clear in the pronunciation of the sound p, b, m, p. You can try and feel that the lips should be in a firm contact with each other. This is in the pronunciation of p. There is another position, is that when the lower lip is raised to be in touch with the upper front teeth. The lower lip is raised to be in touch with the upper front teeth. This is when we have sounds like f and v, f and v, f and v. Okay? And they can be apart, they can be away from each other. In this case, we will have flat, a rounded position, like E. When you are smiling, you say E. The lips here take a flat position. There is no rounding. And there is another example, or other set of sounds, more specifically vowels. They are rounded. What do you mean by rounded? The lips take a circular position, a rounded position. Ooh, ooh. You can put your mirror in front of you and say the sound ooh or ooh. Okay? You can move from E to oo and check the difference. E-oo, E-oo. Okay? In this case, the lips will be rounded. Okay, by the way, the lips in English do not move a lot. So do not exaggerate the movement of the lips. Do not exaggerate the movements of the lips. They move, but not that much. So a speaker of English can speak while having a pipe between the lips or a cigarette, for example, because the movements of the lips in English are not that various, and somehow they are limited. The movements are limited. So what about lips movement in Arabic? This is a question I want you to think about. Do we rely on the movements of the lips much in the pronunciation of Arabic sounds? You may look for answers and tell me next lecture. Now, speech organs combine together in different ways to produce different sounds. Now, this is the end of the discussion of the speech organs. And these are some notes that you can take into consideration. First of all, in most cases, no one organ of speech can produce a sound. There is often an interaction between two organs of speech at least to make different sounds. And another point that I want you to pay attention to is that slight differences in pronunciation can make huge differences. Okay? So some sounds are so close to each other and they have they have features in common. They have similarities. So don't mix up sounds. Okay? Try always to feel the differences between sounds, even if these differences are very slight. يعني اختلافات بسيطة جدا, but they are very important. For example, in the pronunciation of ra, if we make it an approximant and we say ra, 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 this, which is the correct way to pronounce it in English, and if we make it a trilled one, actually this is the one we are most familiar with in Arabic, which is r, r, r. So they may look the same, but they are actually very different. Approximant ra is pronounced like this, ra, ra, read, read, while trilled ra is pronounced like read, read, read. Okay? So try to familiarize yourself with the approximant pronunciation of ra, not the trilled one, because this is the one we need in English. So what we have in trilled ra is that we move our tongue forward more than required. And if the tongue is moved more than required, there will be a contact between the tongue and the alveolar ridge. In this case, the sound ra will be alveolar, not palatal. Okay? So pay attention to the pronunciation of ra sound. The ta sound, for example, can be pronounced when the tongue is between the lips. It. Okay? And I have noticed many people who pronounce the ta sound when their tip of the tongue is between their teeth. Is between their teeth. T. But this is not the English sound. This is not the correct English ta as we have in English. To correctly pronounce the ta in an English-like way, you may make your tip of the tongue in contact with the alveolar ridge. It's not it. Okay? It's not between the lips. The tip of the tongue should be in contact with the alveolar ridge. Okay? One more notice, or one more point for you to notice. While learners work on learning the pronunciation of a certain sound, they need to compare it with similar sounds in your language. So we have ra in English, We have ra in Arabic, but they are different. So try always to compare the ra you have in Arabic and the ra you have in English, the ta you have in Arabic and the ta you have in English, the la you have in Arabic and the la you have in English. This will help you much distinguish these sounds and pronounce them correctly. As I said, identifying differences and similarities between these sounds, the sounds that are similar in the two languages, the L1 sounds and the L2 sounds. The L1 sounds for us, I mean Arabic, and the L2 for you as learners of English is English. If we identify the differences and similarities between L1 and L2 sounds, this will help much in perceiving and producing sounds correctly, L2 sounds. So perceiving means to hear them correctly, and producing them means to pronounce them correctly. So please try always to learn consciously, not unconsciously. You are not machines. You should be able to analyze, you should be able to compare, to synthesize in order to come up with logical conclusions that help you much in your learning process. Okay, thank you very much. Hope to see you again.